In this episode, I'm joined by the wonderful Rebekka Bishop, who is a former inventor turned startup founder and a highly requested guest to have on Cyber Made Human. So we're delighted to have her. This episode was filmed at the Series 2 launch party that we held here in Cheltenham a few weeks ago. So we do have a live audience present, and it's a slightly different format to usual. We discuss the differences, limitations, challenges and opportunities between startup speed and government scale. Let's get started. So when I asked people for recommendations of who to have on the show, your name came up a lot. So I'm so pleased that we could have you for the launch event. It's really, really good. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. No, it's lovely.
And we know each other then from Grown in Cheltenham, which is a bit of a business accelerator programme that both of our businesses are on. Yes. But for anyone in the audience and watching who doesn't know you, can you tell me a bit about your background and what you do now?
Right, well, I'm a director at Zest Intelligence, which is a newly formed startup. We do professional services for the UK government in the highly regulated sector. So my background, I've done lots of things. I went to Brunel University and did industrial design and technology when there was only one degree in computer science and things. Mm-hmm. And then I won BBC's Best Inventions back in 2002 with my smart plant pot invention, which threw me into limelight. And as a result of that, I met royalty and got onto a campaign really of supporting women in STEM. So I'd done that for 20 odd years, hence all the things that I've done previously, and had children in the meantime. And I think after I was in the defence sector, the pharmaceutical sector for a while, and then I came to a point where I was a returning mother after my second child, and that's when I came across really what was going on within Gloucestershire at the time. There was a huge sort of growth in the cyber market and what was happening here, and I basically pivoted, used my skill sets and transitioned into the cyber sector. And at the same time, because I found there was no network, or was a very little network, and this is when I came across Cynam, because they too were setting up, I set up Gloucestershire STEM Network, which is for women in underrepresented groups. So that was sponsored by the G1 LEP at the time, and then later the University of Gloucestershire. So I've done a lot of things promoting engineering, especially for women and for young girls, and also being a returning mum and championing that campaign as well. So yeah, lots of things going on. But my next adventure is Zest Intelligence, I run it with, I've got three other founding directors as well, and I think it's taking that leap of faith and saying, you've got to do these things, and saying, I've got the skill sets, let's go for it.
Great. So I think it's really good to understand your background, because I know you from Zest Intelligence, but even understanding that you were an innovator and you won awards for that, a long time ago, and you've worked for government. I think these are things that you wouldn't necessarily talk about now, and so it's really great to bring that background into this conversation.
Absolutely. I for many, many, many years, I never told anyone what happened back all those years ago when I was 22. I was a young female inventor, and not a lot of people like that, to be truthful. It was a time when women in engineering, it was still very challenging, and I was part of that movement to bring about change. Yeah. So now, I was talking to someone else, they said, you've got to start sharing this story because it's still very relevant. But to me, it's a toolbox. It's one of those things in my life's toolbox that comes out. Innovation is the heart of me in everything I do, and that applies within cyber and digital. It's still there. I know everyone thinks you can't see it and it's out there, but it's still, you've got to think more innovatively. So it's been the foundation of my life, and one day my children will find out that their mum did all these great things, and my give back was very much about supporting women and obviously young people to get into STEM careers, and that's when I was also asked to run the Cyber First Gloucestershire region, which now Cynam actually run the southwest area for that. So I was part of that story with Madeline. So yeah, done a lot of things. It's the heart of me.
Amazing. And I think we're really lucky in Cheltenham, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start Cyber Made Human, is there's so many amazing communities doing such innovative work.
Yes.
We've got Cynam as an example, but that's probably the best example, but there's lots of groups of people making amazing innovations and change and collaborating together, and you're definitely an example of that. So it's really good to understand your background, and I think what we're here to talk about today with you is about kind of government scale versus startup speed, and the fact that you've got a background in both of those areas. The conversation that we just had with Kath about kind of how to communicate to different audiences, it'd be interesting to hear your experience as someone who used to work in government and now is in the startup space, what your kind of insights are on that.
So compliance and regulation is key to all businesses now, and companies don't think they're immune to that. They are, because everything is digital now these days.
Yeah.
And I think, all startups struggle with that compliance aspect. We were touching on it just earlier, and it can seem quite boring as such, but it's fundamentally key. Trust to your customers, and a lot of frameworks and these organisations, you need to meet those requirements. So, for example, Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus is essential to all businesses now, and a lot of our customers and frameworks are that is almost a prerequisite. There's lots of things around support as well, code of governance and things to help organisations. There's the ISO standards, GDPR, data protection, which we were talking about with Kath as well. There's almost like there's an entry criteria when you've got that idea on a piece of paper, you've got to consider compliance. It can't be, you can't miss it. It's part of the core foundation of your business, and that's really fundamental. And it is challenging, because when you're looking at it for the first time, it can be very, very daunting.
Yeah.
But equally, and I think this is one of the benefits it has, it provides those set of requirements that you can walk through. And you have to be a jack of all trades when you're a startup, And sometimes just asking the right question, or knowing who to go to ask those questions as well, to walk through that process. And you have limited amount of funding to do it, so a lot of it you're doing yourself, and it's very resource constrained as well. But once you do meet those requirements, you've met them and you're in there. And it can take many months. It can take a long time. We're actually at the end process of a number of frameworks at the moment, and they keep asking for more and more things all the time. So with a startup, the advantages is the fact that we've got the agility and the creativity in that space, but compliance can slow it down.
Yeah. And
you have to weigh it up. I mean, there's some days where I think, gosh, I haven't done anything fun, such, or, Helen and I are dealing with the fundamentals of the business, and it can get quite down sometimes, but you've got to keep motivating yourself, and that resilience to go forward. It is relevant, and it's a cornerstone of the organisation, and it's key, because if we don't do it, we don't have a business effectively. And as long as you've done all the essential requirements and regulatory and security checks, etc., then you're going to be okay. But it's something you have to continually assess. You can't just stop it. You can't just say, I've done that, I'll come back to it next year.
Yeah. And that's because you're selling just to government. Whereas if you were selling commercially, you wouldn't necessarily have to jump through those hoops. And would you say that actually it makes your business stronger by having to jump through those hoops, as painful as they are? Because even as a marketing agency, we do work via third parties for councils, for example, because we literally don't have the capacity to be going through the legislation and procurement processes. But would you say that it does make you in a stronger position for any market?
It does, and it's a high barrier to entry. I'm not, that is definitely, it's not for everyone, and it's incredibly challenging, and you have to sort of know what those pitfalls are going to be, and what you need those requirements to meet. But you're absolutely right. If you go through a third party, they will reduce that risk. However, they will expect through their supply chain saying that you've met certain standards working with that customer. And it's all about risk management to them, around data management, and also, to yourselves. So every customer, every framework, they might have slightly different variations of requirements, but normally they're typically, if you've done one, you've done the hard work.
This episode is sponsored by Cynam. Cynam is a thriving community of investors, academia, government and industry, also anybody interested in emerging technology and cybersecurity. I've been a member of Cynam for over 2 years, and I'm now also an ambassador and a mentor for emerging creatives on their platform. Alice Violet Creative is also proudly Cynam's creative partner, having just wrapped up a 6-part documentary series with their team. Cynam events are free and open to all, so do come along and get involved if you're interested in joining the community. You can find out more at cynam.org. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. The Cyber Made Human podcast is produced by Alice Violet Creative, my content marketing agency based in Cheltenham. We specialise in complex brands, which primarily means those in emerging technologies, cybersecurity and intelligence. We're able to take abstract, clinical and difficult topics and make beautiful, compelling and results-driven content. So get in touch with us for digital marketing and all your content needs.
Yeah, and would you say then that some of in any industry, companies that governments are working with are actually, they've got a limited pool to look at, and so there might be some incredible startup that they can't even consider because they haven't got the capacity to go through it? And is there an opportunity there to actually, for them to notice them and help them through the process? And does that exist, that infrastructure, so they can actually see them if they're not ready to work with them?
Absolutely. And so you've got products, or you've got professional services. I know, like the NCSD for startups, they do handhold you through some of those processes. Through professional services, the larger frameworks, or primes as they call them, will handhold through that process. But also they expect that you will meet those requirements to some degree. And like our security management plan that we've now just completed, that was quite a long, lengthy process to make sure we've met all those requirements. But now we've got it. We are compliant, and it's a great testament to the team that we've done that. So it's fundamental of the business. Whereas Catherine was talking about compliance and cybersecurity being, people recognising it being not nice to have, but recognising it's important. It's a fundamental to our business. We can't get around it in any other way. We do that, or we're not in business at all.
Right.
Yeah. So it's challenging.
What would you say the key benefits are about being in a startup? What do you have the freedom to do, if any? Excuse me. What do you have the freedom to do, if any, that you didn't have when you're working in-house at government?
Yeah. So with being a startup, obviously you've got that agility. You work agile. You can fail fast and learn. I describe as a startup being a speedboat, and we're building this big speedboat, and we've got all our life jackets on there, which is the compliance, that safety net that we've had to build ourselves. It hasn't magically happened. And then government is this larger tanker. To bring about change, it takes longer to navigate, whereas we can move and pivot much quicker. And respond better, and also at scale. So we can scale up quite quickly or scale down. In government, obviously, where Kath was talking about the approval process and the going to the CEO and getting that approval, sponsorship to take something forward, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that as such. You can make those decisions on the fly. And we make decisions in the morning, and we've done it in the afternoon, So I think that's the most exciting thing. And for me, being an innovator, going right full circle, is the fact that I love that. The first time I can be that innovator as I was when I was younger. But obviously, I've got just a grown-up pair of shoulders now, and I have to think, I have got legal requirements and ethical, ethical boundaries and things I have to consider, and staff as well. So it's taking all that experience and having that mindset of creativity and bringing it to life in a way that before was very stagnant and slow. However, I'm not going to say too much negatives, because you can bring agile ways of working into government.
Yeah.
And you can do it, and they do that. So they do fail fast, do discovery phases, but still that process to get approval of funds is very slow. So from a delivery perspective, it still can happen, but it's more regimented, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and when you say discovery process, then that's really interesting, because if they've got kind of threads of projects that they know could fail,
yes,
as a government having that money and project and saying we're okay if that fails,
exactly,
which is kind of how a startup operates, that's a very different mindset to what I would have imagined existed there, where everything has to be worthwhile.
Yes, so the authority does work like that, government does work like
that's
that.
Interesting.
And they are looking at startups and industry and taking those lessons learnt, because they need to innovate, they need to also be ahead of, or working in parallel with new technologies and things, or keeping up to date. So they do recognise that, and I think that's where you get that collaboration that has to happen, really, between both government and startups. And I'd like to see more, to be honest. And Cynam and Plexel, they do a lot of work with that, and learning from each other, because from what we've been through around compliance, I would love someone to have walked us through that. And recognising there's going to be gaps in our knowledge and gaps of where we are, but equally we've got that agility and going, wait, there's an opportunity here. We can solve that problem for you. We can do, a minimal viable product or prototype or proof of concept very quickly. So it's a collaboration of the two worlds. I think so. And have a super speed tanker. I'm not too sure what that looked like, but
yes. Well, I was going to say, having gone through the process the hard way there, and you've had to learn it all yourself and allocate the time and kind of pause innovation while you do it, for anyone who's thinking about going into that process, what's the advice you'd give them?
Oh my goodness. I would probably say go for it.
Okay.
Be resilient and go for it. You're not going to know everything. Ask lots and lots of questions. Don't be afraid to not know everything. And just ask for help. And I've been very fortunate. I've got 3 other directors who are amazing, and we've all got our different strengths, and we complement each other very well. And I feel very, very fortunate.
Yes.
And I think you have faith in yourself, and it's all about being you, isn't it? And I remember doing a pitch to one company, and I actually said to them, I don't know what they thought afterwards about me, but I said, I just want to be me. I've had all these years of not being me. I just want to be that innovator. And that's what it's about. It's about having that freedom, but also recognise you have those responsibility and compliance and all the things that come together, but you know how that all works.
Yeah.
So I still don't know how that went afterwards, but we did actually win work. So
that's good. So, what was I going to say then? I got distracted by the whoop. I was going to say, now you've gone through all this compliance, you've done it, you've done the hard slog, and it might be a long-term thing in terms of keeping it all up. But what's next now that you've done that?
Oh, goodness. Well, it's growth, isn't it? That's another challenge.
Okay.
It's
so
growth.
It's scale time.
Scale time, yes. And I am not, I'm not sitting there going, I've done it all now. It scares me. I know it's that massive it's a step forward for us all. We've got a really good foundation of the business, and I'm very proud of everyone. We've got our infrastructure effectively. It's growth, it's recruiting people. So we have our next new starter starting in June. And it's getting into business as usual, really.
Amazing. What's the new role?
It's just another consultancy
Okay,
role.
amazing.
So it's another staff member. Yeah.
Cool. Well, my final question for you is for the Cyber Made Human bookshelf. We always
Right.
ask our guests to recommend a book. It doesn't have to be relevant to what we've just talked about, but it can be. Just a way of us getting to know you a bit better. So what will you recommend for us?
All right. Well,
I spy
a
something.
book here. I do a lot of reading around mental health. And resilience as well, which I'm hoping that came out, how important resilience is. So it's Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. It's a really, really easy read. It's got a lot of life's toolkits in there. I wish someone had given that to me. I also said to my mum, you should read it as well. Definitely a good one. Any point of your life in there, it touches on. And I'm also currently reading Becoming from Michelle Obama as well, which I'm finding very inspirational.
Amazing. I can see that you've got lots of little notes in there. Is there one quote that stood out to you?
Goodness me. Oh, okay, this might be a good one. Getting clarity on our personal values can guide us on setting goals that will bring meaning and purpose.
That's very true. Yeah, definitely.
So there you go.
Thank you. Well, my recommendation this episode is the book I Wish My Parents Had Read by Philippa Perry. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It gives you a really good insight to kind of your own parents and seeing them as a 360 human being who has the same flaws and dreams and desires as you do, who's also a parent. But also it gives you a very different insight on how to interact with other human beings, and just another kind of in the similar category, easy read that's got some interesting insights. But thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed that episode, and I hope you guys did too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoa.